Welcome everyone to the cloud computing workshop, and today is the first day and the first workshop. So we are going to cover basically introduction to cloud computing, and I'm Harsha Pitavala, uh, and yeah, I hope some of you may be familiar with several cloud products, but some may not. So it's all right. We'll start from the beginning and proceed from there. So first things first, you need to have two email accounts previously not used in an AWS account to work along this workshop. And I want you to download Google Authenticator onto your phone for multi-factor authentication. So you can do those two while I'm continuing with the slides. So at the end of the slides, we can easily create the AWS account and set up a multi-factor authentication for your AWS accounts. So about myself, I'm currently a site reliability engineer at Pearson with specialization in architecting serverless solutions with infrastructure as code tools. For some of you, these terms might find little Greek, but throughout the workshops, we will get familiar with these terms, and they will make more sense later for you. So I became AWS Solutions Architect Associate in July last year, and I graduated with a master's from the University of Iowa Computer Science Department in December 2019, and I currently possess around 3+ years experience with several cloud products. And let me highlight why I was motivated to do this type of workshop for you. After joining Pearson, I had the chance to review feedback from interviews that were held at Pearson, and one thing I noticed was that many of the fresh graduates are lacking what is expected by the industry, at least a little bit of exposure to say few cloud products and ability to build something on the cloud. These kind of skills were lacking among those candidates, and I understand that with the regular course workloads, you hardly find some time to do things on the cloud when you have to focus on your GPA and meeting deadlines. So I thought, okay, I'll do something to enhance their cloud skills, and also I wanted to do something to the University of Iowa, and especially the computer science department, because I'm always grateful to Professor Sriram, Professor Ghosh, and Dr. Myers, who helped me get into the MCS program back in 2018, and they have made me what I am today. So I just wanted to pay back and do something for the University of Iowa, and that's why I started this. And my former manager, Jelena Biderman, also pushed me a lot to do this, and I want to remember her as well. So the objectives of this workshop: first, I want to enhance awareness among you about cloud computing. So as I mentioned, due to so much burden on the coursework, you hardly get time to explore new things. So I would like to take these 4 workshops to enhance your awareness about cloud computing. And also, since some of you may be graduating this semester, and some of you, so most of you may be looking for full-time positions, and while some may be looking for internships, you can use some of the skills that you gather in these workshops in your internships or in finding a full-time position. So you have something to talk about when you go to an interview. And I also uh, feel that students have a kind of fear to explore things in the cloud. So I just want to uh, just clear that, because we believe that it's when we refer to cloud, it's kind of expensive, and you need a lot of skills and expertise to do things in the cloud. But it is not. If you know a few basic things, you can do a lot, and at mostly at no cost. So for instance, most of the things that we are going to do in these workshops, uh, you can do things, many of the things in the free tier, and you won't be charged a penny for all the things that you do. And I also want you to experiment new ideas, especially if you are interested in attending hackathons and all. You can apply some of these skills in hackathons and build innovative things, and see where you can go with the knowledge. So I think it's my I should mention something about my employer, because my employer or my manager, they push me to do this type of voluntary work, and they give me enough time to prepare and enough support to uh, enough support from the other teams to organize these type of things. So Pearson, um, it's our tagline is basically world's learning company. So we are basically into learning and assessments, and we have we are conducting school assessments, clinical trials, and various uh, our product portfolio is basically around assessments, exams, marking, all those exam related stuff. And Pearson actually moved to cloud computing somewhere in 2013 after having had some bad experience with in-house data centers. And it's spread across US in several US states and around the globe in over 70 countries. So you can work from anywhere in the world for Pearson mostly. And uh, diversity is highly valued at Pearson. If you are from a minority group, or if you are an international student, you won't feel alone, or you won't feel uh, any any you won't feel cornered. Your ideas, your perspectives are always valued, and you will always have someone to talk at Pearson. And employee growth and learning is highly encouraged. We can reimburse most of the exam preparation and certification costs, and they want you to develop, and you can attend any important conferences that you want to. So all those benefits you will get as a Pearson employee. And we are also one of the leading customers of AWS. We are spending millions of dollars every year for our services that we host in AWS. So we get so much privileges and premium support from AWS. Uh, like they sponsor some of our major events throughout the year. So those kind of benefits you get. And also there is an excellent work-life balance. Unlike in many big tech companies where you are under tremendous peer pressure to meet your deadlines and mm, to compete with each other. You can have a good social and family life at Pearson with balancing your work and social life. So uh, if we uh, just get to know the contents of these workshops, today we are going to do the introduction to cloud computing, and next day we will be learning cloud networks and databases, and in the third workshop, we will be hosting an application in the cloud, probably a web application. And then in the fourth workshop, we are going to learn some advanced cloud concepts that are currently used in the industry. And it will be mostly theoretical, but I will touch whenever there's a possibility to expose you to these advanced concepts. I'm sorry. Let's see why we need to go to cloud computing. So if we want to know why cloud computing, we should know what was the situation earlier. Before cloud computing, it was mainly traditional in-house data centers. And when you consider in-house data centers, you need to invest a lot of money in infrastructure before you make any before you could run a very simple application. You need to do a lot of investments. So there is capital and some overheads like power. You need to cool your infrastructure because a lot of heat is generated. So all those things they incur a lot of expenditure upfront. But with cloud computing, you don't need so much capital upfront. You can just start with in the free tier and see how your application performs, and then you can expand or scale based on your workloads. And it's easier to test new ideas. You don't need a lot of capital, and if there is a failure, you can simply shut down your application and then you are done. But if you want to, if your idea or your application is successful, you can proceed and do it in production scale with a lot of heavy resources. And improve reliability. uh, how cloud computing helps reliability. uh, for instance, I'll relate some experience of mine. uh, uh, i'm I'm from Sri Lanka, and I was working for customs department there, and we were maintaining our own data centers. And it is because we had some sensitive data. We didn't want them to be like public or put them in the internet as in cloud. So we were thinking, okay, we'll keep maintain our data centers. And we wanted to build a DR site, right, disaster recovery site, in case our main data center had any issues, a downtime, maybe a natural disaster. We wanted to have a DR site so that we could run our applications without any downtime. But it was a lot of pain. We even you have to identify a suitable location, and you need to set up human resources. You need to do uh, you need to invest a lot of money on servers, maybe databases, and then firewalls, switches, all those instruments you have to purchase separately. So it's like doubling the cost. But uh, that is but that then again, it's just two places, right? You have only two sites. What if both get attacked, or if both become unavailable? So but with cloud computing, you can uh, have your data center or your networks around the globe. So you in multiple regions. So your even network failures, natural disasters, they cannot impact your application, or you won't need any downtime. And improved scalability. So if you want to like if your application is functioning well, and you have uh, uh, like improved or increased the user base, you will definitely need to scale up, right? uh, and For that, it's so easy with cloud. You just run up another instance with high resources, and you are good to go. And also you can scale down when you don't need that many resources. But if you have a traditional data centers, you don't have that flexibility. If you invest on a certain infrastructure, you will have to maintain that throughout the year, irrespective of the demand. So scalability is another important aspect with cloud computing, and it provides a lot of flexibility and improved security. Actually, I'm going to discuss about security in detail in the next slide, so I will skip that now. Uh, and you can access your infrastructure from anywhere in the world with cloud. But if you are using a data center, you will need to be physically there, and then only you will have access to your dashboards, your servers, your databases, whatever. But with the cloud, you can access your network, your databases, or any other service from anywhere of the world, from anywhere in the world, if you have a stable internet connection. And you don't need any physical space in your office to do cloud computing, unlike a traditional data center. And you don't need to worry about temperature controls, because I remember, like, when I was when I was in back in my country, we had to uh, sometimes the heat causes so much trouble. You need to shut down your servers for maybe a few hours until the temperature drops to a reasonable level. So that you don't have those kind of issues if you move to cloud computing. Yeah, so we are going to address security here. People believe, actually it's a myth, people believe cloud is unsafe or vulnerable. Is my data accessible to anywhere, anybody in the internet? Or uh, can somebody hack my system if it is in the cloud? Those people have those kind of uh, ideas when it comes to cloud computing. But actually, uh, uh, to be honest, it's much more safe compared to a data center, because if uh, something happens to your data center, you lose your data. But it's true that somebody will not be able to access that, but you also lose your data, right? Which is not acceptable. But with cloud computing, you can have replication, maybe across zones or across regions. So if something happens to one region, your data is still there, and they have enough physical and software controls so that only the authorized people will have access to those data and services. And one important concept in the cloud security is that security of the cloud is the responsibility of the cloud service provider or the cloud vendor, but security in the cloud is the responsibility of the customer. So even though cloud vendor or cloud service provider puts all the necessary physical access control systems and firewalls and everything set up so that anybody cannot, any unauthorized access is prohibited or stopped, uh, the cloud service provider cannot help if you open up, if the cloud customer open up a back door or some unsecure tunnel to the internet so anybody could access your data. So security in the cloud is a responsibility of the cloud customer. Particularly, sometimes you might accidentally push some of your AWS credentials to a Git repo. So then somebody might use that and use your resources, and you will get a large bill. So that those things could happen. So it is your mistake, and it is something that you are responsible for. But if you have everything in place for the safety of your system, then you won't have to worry about anybody accessing the cloud data center and stealing your data or reading your uh, personal stuff. So this is an important concept in cloud security. So as you all know, there are several major cloud service providers, and you can see Amazon has the largest market share, then the Microsoft and Google, and we can see IBM and Oracle. They are also emerging, and I think currently Apple is also starting cloud services. So you can see how everybody is moving towards cloud, and how lucrative that uh, cloud business is. Uh, and if you are interested, these are some of the career paths that you have in AWS. Uh, Also, if you are interested in Microsoft certifications, you can have a similar career path. And if you want to do Google certifications for GCP, Google Cloud Platform, there are also several certifications that you can acquire. And these are like what the AWS have. And so since 2013, they have introduced uh, new certifications. And uh, one person actually asked me in the comments when I put up that registration form, whether we are going to do any Asia materials. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not planning to go much deeper into Asia, but I could help you uh, find some resources if you want to. And actually, I just did some research, and I figured out that currently there is if you want to learn Asia from the beginning, like you have you have some uh, very good courses in Udemy. And these are like some discount period, and in 4 or 5 hours the deals are going to end, and you can try some of the basic certifications there for less than $20. Uh, so I highly encourage, if there are any if there is anyone interested in pursuing Asia or GCP, try Udemy, because there is an important there are some good courses I found there. Even I started learning AWS at Udemy before I joined Pearson. So it's a good resource, especially if you can find some materials from a provider called a Cloud Guru. They are kind of leading cloud education providers in the market. If you can find some resources from them, I highly recommend. And you can learn whatever you want, and they are the expert. I can recommend you that. So uh, cloud computing is also not something really easy. You have certain challenges. One important challenge is trading off between 5 pillars. So what are these 5 pillars? I'll just give you an introduction. So AWS was one of the primary, or the first one, to move things into the cloud, and they have set up a framework or best practices that other or the cloud users or other cloud providers could follow. And it is referred to as well architected framework. And it has 5 pillars, and these are the 5 pillars: operational excellence, security, reliability, performance, efficiency, and cost optimization. So what I mean by trading off between 5 pillars is that I'll give you an example. So imagine a situation that you want to uh, have a DR site for your systems, right? So definitely you will incur double the cost. You have your primary site, and you need to have your disaster recovery DR site. So if you want same amount of resources, you will definitely you might get some discount based on your usage, but it will mostly be double your primary cost. Uh, so so you are improving your reliability of your system, but on the other hand, you lose on cost optimization. You have higher cost, right? So that is what I mean by trading off between these pillars. If you want, you need to identify, based on your business case, what is important for your business, whether it's reliability or the cost. So then you can trade off. And by actually managing or negotiating well, or discussing with your development teams, you can do a pretty good trade-off, I believe. We have done so. And it's not a like you just give up on something. You can have reasonable levels in all the 5 pillars and still save on cost. And why I have red marked these two pillars, operational excellence and security, is that you normally do not trade off between those two, right? You can no way trade off security, operational excellence. It could cause significant impact to your infrastructure and data privacy, or any other important aspects of your infrastructure. So you normally do not trade off between these two pillars, but the rest you can do trade-off and come to a reasonable level. Yeah. And one other issue with cloud computing is that certain countries have strict data controls, like uh, certain countries don't allow data go beyond their borders. For instance, Canadian uh, government stipulates that their clinical data cannot cross their geographical boundaries. So if you want to have a cloud solution for clinical trials, you need to have your infrastructure in the Canadian, in one of the AWS uh, data centers in Canadian uh, geographical locations. Uh, so that is one challenge to cloud computing. If there is a country that doesn't have a or the data center, then they won't be able to move to cloud computing. Yeah, and next I'm going to so I hope you are working on the previous things that I mentioned, like having an email account ready, 2 email accounts ready, and having downloaded the Google Authenticator for your multi-factor authentication to the AWS. So let's move on with the slides. Uh, Industry expectations. What is industry expecting of you with regard to the cloud skills? So if you have familiarity with one or more cloud services, and you have built something on the cloud, that is something that is expected of you. And when I actually joined Pearson, I had worked with a few AWS services, and that helped me a lot. Uh, at the interviews, I had something to talk about. So it's good if you can experiment on some cloud services, not very advanced one, but very simple ones, and see how you can build something on them. And so you know how, so you can talk about how you started it, what challenges you encountered. So all those things you can talk at the interview if you have that experience and familiarity. And some programming experience if you are going to be a developer, like cloud SDKs, like every major programming language can communicate with AWS with the respective SDKs. So if you're familiar with Python, Java, or JavaScript, and you know how to communicate to the cloud with commands in those SDKs, then that is a very strong point. And also you need to consider several aspects like scalability, operational efficiency, security, and cost of cloud solutions. You don't need to like have a very strong and deep understanding, but if you have a reasonable understanding, okay, if you know how you can scale, and what problems uh, you will face, and what you can suggest for those uh, problems, then you are good. And also if you can suggest something how you can reduce costs. Now for instance, I could ask you, okay, uh, yeah, I'm going to ask you a question. Okay, now I have a situation where I want to have three environments for one of my systems. One is the test environment, one is the user acceptance testing or the UAT environment, and the production environment. So uh, how can we cost optimize on these environments? Anybody have any idea that you want to share?
Can you repeat how do we host?
How I want to host an application in
Yeah.
three environments: test, UAT, and production. So there are three separate environments, and the same application has to be hosted in these environments. So how can I improve on cost? Any suggestions you have? You can think of?
Maybe have three different servers and run the application on them. And your test server and your acceptance test server would be having less resources, whereas your production server would have more resources, because you don't want your production server to be slow because it lacks the necessary amount of resources. So that way I'm able to optimize the cost.
Yeah, that's an excellent answer. Uh, I missed who answered
Uh,
actually.
this is Santosh, who asked you about Azure.
Right, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is the kind of expected answer. So these other environments, test, maybe UAT, you may have development environments, and sometimes you have QA environments. So all these are non-production environments. So you won't need that many resources to invest to run those applications. Even though it's the same application, you can run on a different or a smaller instance. You can have a smaller database. You can have you won't need you won't need a big, maybe object storage. So you can have that flexibility when it comes to non-prod. But if you move to the prod, then you as you suggested, we cannot tolerate any downtime. We cannot afford to uh, like we cannot afford to have our users requests being rejected. So we need to have sufficiently resources and even a margin for the fluctuations in the requests. So definitely that would be an ideal solution. So if those kind of uh, things, you need to be able to identify and elaborate. That is one expectation uh, from you. And if you have a Unix and Linux experience, that is also a very critical point, because most of the servers we run in the cloud, we use Unix and Linux because they are cheap compared to instances like Windows. And so you know how to run things in the terminal with command line uh, um, tools, or command line, the commands in the terminal. Then you are pretty good on that. And also some basic network knowledge, because when everything is in the cloud, you have to grant permissions, you have to deny certain permissions. You need to know what is meant by a firewall, what is how you open up ports, how you allow what is meant by a CIDR block, and how you use SSH keys to connect to an instance, what is meant by tunneling. So those kind of basic network skills would also become handy when you uh, apply for a job or look for an internship. So with that, we are going to uh, uh, have our AWS accounts created. Uh, may I know uh, if any of you have AWS accounts already?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Yeah, we can I'll share the link, so you can click on that, and if you have the email address already set up, you can provide that email address, and you will need a you will need a credit or debit card initially, but that will not, you will not be charged because you will be in the free tier initially. And for most of the things that we do in this workshop, you can do in the free tier, but initially they will hold $1 just to validate your credit card or debit card, but that will be refunded. And so I will provide the link for you to access the console and have your account created. Please go ahead and use this link and let me know if you encounter any issues uh, creating the account. So I'm going to stop sharing. Uh, you can use the link in the chat and have your um, account created in the AWS. And once you register, you will be required to provide a phone number as well, and you will get a verification code, a 4-digit verification code. You can provide that and have your account ready, and we will log in and see our first steps, like setting up multi-factor authentication and all. Uh, and I think that is all what we are going to do today. From next week, we will next workshops will not be this much of theory concepts. We will straight away learn few things, and then we can do things in the cloud console or the cloud environment. So if you guys have any issues creating the account, please let me know. Otherwise, you can log in and I can show you uh, uh, how it will appear after you have the account set up and log in. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me, uh, whether it's related to cloud or Pearson or anything that you want any answers uh, related to this workshop, you can ask me in the meantime.
So I have a question, Harsha. This is Santosh again.
Okay. Santosh.
So, yeah, so you are working as a site reliability engineer at Pearson, right? I know. I mean, I can kind of guess what software engineers or full stack engineers do at a company, but I'm not entirely, sure of what the role of site reliability engineer is and how does your day to day. I mean, what do you do on a day to day basis?
Okay. Uh, so generally, we actually, as a site reliability engineer, you need to support uh, your customers. Like, you are kind of doing the uh, architecting and troubleshooting issues in your architecture, and
Mhm.
you are not basically, you will not be using mostly those Java or just the regular languages that like JavaScript or Python. Basically, you might use them from time to time, but you will be basically dealing with uh, languages or tools like infrastructure as code. If you have heard, there are tools like Cloud Formation, Ansible, Terraform, uh, and even each cloud provider has their own infrastructure as code tool. So you will be dealing with those as your programming language, basically. But apart from that, you may one major uh, thing that we attend regularly is builds, like uh, you call the continuous integration and continuous development pipelines. You do builds in them, and most of the time, due to certain issues, those builds fail, and your whatever you push to your master branch, okay, whatever the commits you merge into the master, they won't proceed to your production environment due to issues in your pipeline. So we are
Mhm.
troubleshooting most of them. And
Mhm.
also, as a site reliability engineer, you have to have an on-call duty. Like every once in a while, you get to be on call. Maybe sometimes certain you will be alerted if any of your databases uh, are giving like error responses for maybe several consecutive times. If it is rejecting certain requests, you will be alerted and you will need to address those issues.
Okay.
Those are the like the regular work that we do. So
Okay.
yeah, if you have other questions, yeah, feel free to ask. uh,
So the languages that you said you will be using, right? What are those languages?
they are like now, mm, today not today, actually next week, in the next workshop, we are going to create a network and a database in the cloud. But
Mhm.
you in the actual situation, you can't, we will be doing that in the console, like by clicking on buttons and by clicking on menus you are going to do. But in
Mhm.
the actual situation, in the actual environment, you can't do that because you have multiple environments. So are you going to like click on the buttons and menus for all those environments? No, you can't. So you automate infrastructure creation. You use for instance, we heavily use something like Terraform.
Mhm.
So once you run the Terraform code, it will generate the network for you. Once you provide the configuration, you can provide the configurations you want.
Mhm.
You can provide the CIDR block ranges for the subnets, and if you want an internet gateway, you can have that. All those required resources you can create through code. So
Oh, okay.
when you run that, those resources will be created and ready to be used by your application.
Okay. So it
Yeah.
is automatic creation and deployment of resources.
Yes,
That
exactly.
would be the main purpose, I assume.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah. So that is the purpose of infrastructure as code tools.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So if anyone is still having issues creating an account, please let me know, or I can show you what we are going to do next. Uh, so let me.
By the way, I also have a
Yeah.
suggestion for everybody else. I think since we are currently having University of Iowa email address and we are students, we can create a free account without having to link our credit card or debit card. It's called
Okay.
as AWS Educate.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that is one thing I thought maybe. But
Yeah.
they take
Okay.
a certain amount of time to activate your account. They verify that you are a student and things like that.
I see.
But you
Yeah.
just need uiowa.edu email address to
Yeah.
activate that account. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you cannot use Gmail. You need to have the .edu email account.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm also going to do some like a session on that AWS Educate platform. As I mentioned, since we are one of the premium customers of AWS, I'm trying to get one of the AWS experts to do a session on that AWS Educate thing, what benefits you get, because I even explored that, and you can actually start your initial certification there. Like they have the cloud practitioner as the initial one, and you have so many resources to do that certification there itself, free of charge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you can try that. And I'll try to, I have requested from our AWS point of contact to do that session. So hopefully maybe not next session, next workshop, maybe workshop after, I should be able to get someone to do maybe a 20-minute session on AWS Educate, and you can see what benefits you can get from there.
Cool. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to share my Cloud Console now. So after I log in, after I've created AWS account and verified my phone number and email, I can log in. So this is my console in the AWS console under my email under my username, and I want you to go to like here is this is kind of the dashboard you call it, or the console, and I want to show a few things here. So here you have what you call the region, and we are currently going to do everything in this US East 1 region, and this shows the username that you are on the account, that account number that you are currently in, and you can view your, if you have any expenses, you can view them here, or if you get some free credits from any by participating in maybe in one of their sessions or in hackathons, you can redeem them here by providing those coupon codes. And today I'm going to do now. You can see here there are a lot of AWS services currently in place. Like they have categorized them under different service groups like compute, storage, machine learning, and databases. So I'm going to work on one important service called IAM, that is that stands for identity identity access and management, I believe. Yeah, identity access and management. So once you go there, you can see who are the users who have access to this account. And you see here, I don't have any, or if you go to the, if you stay in the dashboard, you can see I have 0 users because this is a fresh account. I don't have any groups, but I have 2 roles. These are not much relevant to you, to what we are going to do. So I want to create and one best practice with cloud computing is that you never use your root account or the this is actually called the root account, and you have, we call it, you have the gold access or all full administrator access. So if somebody other than you gets access to this account, uh, that person can deny you from accessing and still use your own resources, and you will be billed for all that he does. So definitely you don't want to use this root account much often. Instead, we are going to use something called an IAM account, IAM user. So I'm going to create that user here. I'm going to say add user, and I have to provide a username. This is where you need to have your second email address. So I'm going to put it here. And what you need to tick on both these access types. This console access is what we have, like this dashboard access, and programmatic access is where you will be calling AWS services through a programming language or through the command, the terminal. So you can set that user, the new user, to create a new password at next sign in, and so auto-generated password will be sent to that user to that email address, and we will get administrator access to this user so that it's easy. We won't have any issues in the future when we do things in other services. So first of all, we need to don't know whether we can attach policies directly. You go to attach existing policies and you select administrate access, and you click next, and here these are what you call the tags in AWS resources. So these help you uh, identify your resources based on the environment. For instance, if you have a user that is only using the dev environment, you can say the environment here, environment type, and you can say dev or test or UAT here. So then when you want to analyze costs, okay, you want to analyze, okay, what are the costs for the test environment, what are the costs for the dev environment. These tags will help you to filter out those details and build each environment separately. That is the main purpose of uh, tagging. So I'll say just IAM user, and so this is kind of a review page, and I'm going to click create user. So then I can use my other email address, and so I have this some credentials here. I need to download them because this is the only time that they are visible. So I just click on this download CSV file. So it will give me AWS access key ID and secret access key which I could use to make calls to the cloud, uh, the AWS, to make calls to the AWS services to get certain things done. So I have that credentials file downloaded, and then I say I can send an email also to my user. So then that user can uh, okay, I'm not going to do that now. And you can, if you have a email set up in your machine, you can do that and have that email sent to you. So you can click on that and have that other account created under the new email address. So with that, I think we are good to finish today. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, we will start from here next week, and I will let you know how I'm going to share the recordings. Feel free to join if you don't have any conflicts. And if because I had around 29 participants RSVP'd here, but I see only 11 currently. We had 14, maybe they had other class and conflicts. So since I'm doing the recording, they must have left. But I believe if you are in the session, you can clarify your issues, and you won't need additional time. You won't need to invest additional time to go through all this, and you have the time to clarify all the things. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and otherwise we can finish. I'll wait for a few minutes if you want to clarify anything.
I had a question on the tags that you just
Yeah,
stated, Harsha.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
can you just uh, tell us again what is the main purpose of using the tags? So you can, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes. So tagging helps you differentiate differentiate your resources, right? Because for instance, uh, if you are familiar with the EC2 service, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you can launch instances in the EC2. So if you want to name an instance, okay, you want to have an instance for the dev environment, okay,
Mhm.
you say, okay, uh, EC2 dev, whatever, then you can have some product name, maybe we'll call it my app, okay, you have that name for that instance. But sometimes just the name is not sufficient. You need to put on, maybe you have when you go to a big company, there are different business units that deal with each resource. For instance, the costs for that particular instance should go to a different cost center, okay. So where are you going to put that information, okay? So you can create a tag called cost center for that instance and provide that respective cost center. uh, and if you want, uh, yeah, there are different purposes. Okay, sometimes by looking at the instance name, you don't know whether it's a Linux or CentOS or Windows instance. You can specify that as a tag, okay. You can say what is the platform, it's Windows, Ubuntu, Linux, or whatever. So when you do, like, if you want to improve or you want to upgrade the OS, or we do things called patching, so that
Mhm.
fixes some issues in the OSs. uh,
Mhm.
when you do those patching, you can differentiate, okay, this instance is a Windows, this instance is a Ubuntu. So in order to differentiate resources, tagging is very helpful. Sometimes,
Okay.
yeah, sometimes you can differentiate through accounts also. We do that much often, but you can't have different account for each environment. Sometimes, to be on the safe side, one
Mhm.
best practice is you separate the production resources in a production account, and you
Mhm.
keep all your non-production resources in a non-production account. So your
Mhm.
test, dev, UAT, maybe performance, you have sometimes called smoke environment. So all these non-production environments are in a different account,
Mhm.
and your production resources are in a different production account. So you accidentally don't run terminal commands to delete your production resources. But
Okay.
so if you do that, you will have several non-production environments in one account. So how you differentiate? So that is where tagging is really helpful. And sometimes, uh, if you want to, like, sometimes when an instance, we can reboot, shut down instances, right? And
Mhm.
if you
Yeah.
want to, when you shut down, you want to alert a particular group, particular team, particular SRE team, that this instance is shutting down. So you
Mhm.
can specify in the tag whatever the email address, okay, SRE SRE team's email address as uh, a tag. So when that instance is shutting down, uh, you can send an email to that SRE team. Uh, so those, like, there are multiple purposes, not only differentiation, but several other purposes you can are served by tagging. We will learn how to do that, how to get better use of tagging in when we did actually deal with services like RDS, the database, EC2, even the buckets, S3 object storage buckets. When we go into those services, we
Mhm.
will learn actual purposes of tagging. Yeah.
So, is it possible to have two resources belonging to two different categories under one tag? For example, let's say I have a tag called as dev tag. Can
Yeah.
I have my database in that dev associated with that tag? And also, let's say I have S3 bucket, separate S3 bucket for a dev environment.
Yeah.
Can I have these two resources associated with the same tag? Is the tag universal? Is
No,
that
no, no. Like, different services have different tags. So whatever the tag you have for the S3 bucket is different. You can repeat the same tag for a database. For instance, you can have environment type as a tag key. So tagging is like a key value pair, right?
Yeah.
Key is the environment type. And if it is the development bucket, you put the dev as the key value for that bucket tag. And for the database, you can have another environment type tag. Still, its value will be dev, right? So they don't, and even the same resource even in the same like the same resource, same service can have the same tagging. For instance, sometimes you run two databases, right? You need to run two databases. So one database, so you need to run two development databases. So you can say in one databases you put environment type is equal dev, and in the other database also you can put environment type equal dev. But so the tagging can be like duplicate, and they are not to be unique. But once you name a resource, as I told you, EC2 dev my app, that name has to be unique. So you won't be able to repeat that same name for another instance in the same account. So the mostly resource names have to be unique, but the tagging can be duplicate. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And I can group by tags, right? Like filter by tags.
Yeah, that is the other advantage. You can filter out resources based on environment, based on cost center, based on the SRE team. That's possible. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for
Yeah, no
answering all
problem.
my questions. Yeah. Thank you for the session as well. I will leave now.
Yeah, feel
Next
free
week.
to.